phone trembled across the marble island as storm rain stitched the Chicago night. Maya Brooks said, "Why is Ethan's phone on my side of the counter?" And she reached for the glowing screen. A preview pulsed up with a heart and a name she did not know. Maya Brooks said he would never, but the banner expanded like a wound. It read, "Can't wait to see you again, Lena," and the room stopped breathing. Ethan Cole said, "Babe, it's work," and his smile missed its landing. Maya Brooks said, "Work signs messages with kisses now," and the rain got louder. Ethan stepped closer, fingers open, voice soft with practice. Maya Brooks said, "Tell me the truth," and his eyes slid away like wet glass. She lifted the phone, and somewhere in the hiss of weather a woman whispered, "I don't think he'll ever find out," and the world tilted. Silence hit like a slammed door, and the apartment seemed to lean away from us. Ethan Cole said, "You misunderstood," but his cheek told a different story, and my pulse would not slow. I tasted pennies and rain, and the bitter edge of doubt. Maya Brooks said, "You lied with ease," and the words felt too calm for the heat in my ribs. The refrigerator hummed a funeral note that made the room smaller. Ethan Cole said, "It's complicated," and the sentence sagged like a broken chair. I kept breathing to keep from shattering. Maya Brooks said, "A simple man does not need a secret, Lena," and I watched his eyes flinch. Wind pressed the glass, and the lights dimmed, as if the building needed distance from us. The quiet decided to stay, and that terrified me more than the slap. The phone on speaker bled a whisper that did not belong in our kitchen. A woman breathed, "I don't think he'll ever find out," and the syllables curled like smoke. "Maya Brooks," said Lena, and the name cut my tongue. Ethan Cole said, "It's an old message," but the call timer marched, and the lie came freshly ironed. The rain applauded the performance we never rehearsed. I moved closer to the sound as if distance could correct it. Maya Brooks said, "How long have you borrowed my trust?" and my hand hovered above the end button. Ethan Cole said, "Please," and the word shrank to the size of a pin. The whisper faded, leaving wet space and the tick of the clock. The kitchen clock did not care, and I envied it. It arrived like weather inside my chest, a front of knowing that would not recede. Maya Brooks said, "You chose her over me," and the sentence felt heavier than the room. Ethan Cole said, "I messed up," and the smallness of it knocked me back. I scanned our framed photos, each grin now a staged prop. The plant by the window drooped with a mercy I could not afford. Maya Brooks said, "I kept us safe while you rehearsed exit lines, and the storm matched my breath." Ethan Cole said, "I still love you," and my ribs learned a new word for hollow. I saw two futures, and both hurt. The first was staying with rot. The second was walking through fire. The world steadied as choice took shape, rough but real. Maya Brooks said, "I am done being the last to know," and my voice surprised me with its aim. Ethan Cole said, "We can fix this," and the promise clattered like dropped keys. I opened the Notes app and wrote times I had forgiven before the facts. Screenshots stacked like receipts I had failed to keep. Maya Brooks said, "Tomorrow, I change the locks and call Jasmine," and a path lit in the storm. Ethan Cole said, "Please wait," but the clock only moved forward. I breathed and did not break. The rain began to thin, and in its place stood the outline of me. Morning smelled like wet concrete and coffee, and the apartment felt borrowed. Maya Brooks said, "We built this," while steam rose from a chipped mug we picked in Milwaukee. Ethan Cole said, "It's just a fight," from the hallway where towels dripped. We had Sunday pancake rituals and playlists that made dish soap feel like confetti. Maya Brooks said, "I kept a spare key in your desk," and I remembered how he grinned the day I trusted him. Ethan Cole said, "We're not broken," and the word hovered without landing. I thought of our lease, our plants, our shared jokes built like scaffolds. Maya Brooks said, "Promises are furniture," and I felt each chair tip. The storm clouds moved east, and the light showed everything we left on counters. Loyalty felt like a sweater I refused to take off, even as it itched. Maya Brooks said, I stayed when money thinned and cars failed, and the memory warmed and burned. On our first river walk, he shared fears like pennies tossed for luck. Ethan Cole said, I hate failing, and I folded that truth like a note in my wallet. I learned to soothe, to forgive, to wait out storms we never named. Maya Brooks said, I was scared to be left, and the admission clicked like a door in a quiet hall. Ethan Cole said, You're my home back then, and I believed every syllable. I kept believing when belief cost sleep and color. Maya Brooks said, I want love that does not ask me to disappear, and the sky answered with moving light. Jasmine texted a code word we made for emergencies, and I met her by the corner cafe. Jasmine Reed said, Sit, and her voice braided steel and mercy. Foam hissed while a barista drew leaves none of us could keep. Maya Brooks said he chose someone named Lena, and the cup felt heavy as a verdict. Jasmine Reed said, You are not a bad judge, he is a practiced liar, and the sentence steadied my spine. We listed facts like lifeboats aligned on a deck. Maya Brooks said, I want proof and a plan, and my pen found speed. Jasmine Reed said, I will stand next to you until the last door. And the street noise softened. The bell over the cafe door clinked like an oath. Memory played like a reel that refused to cut. Ethan Cole said, Work dinner ran late on the night I ironed his shirt and waited through 2 movies. Maya Brooks said, You smiled when your screen lit at 2 a.m., and the dots connected with a cruel elegance. I replayed birthdays where he stepped outside to take a call. The softness I offered curled at the edges like old paper. Maya Brooks said, Kindness is not camouflage for lies, and the words landed like anchors. He kept a second toothbrush in his gym bag, and I called it preparedness. Ethan Cole said, You worry too much, and I put the worry in a drawer. The drawer will not close now, and I finally let it stay open. Sunset scraped orange across the blinds while my resolve clicked into place. Maya Brooks said, I will know everything, and the vow felt clean. Jasmine Reed said, List what you control, and my pen drew boxes that could hold tomorrow. We wrote names, addresses, and timelines like a map to the truth. Ethan Cole said, We can reset, in a message that blinked without weight. Maya Brooks said, Boundaries start now, and I screenshotted the words like a signature. I saved copies, labeled files, and hid a spare drive in a coat pocket. Jasmine Reed said, Call me at dawn, and the evening leaned toward me instead of away. The city lights came on, and I did not flinch. The week turned elastic, and Ethan's hours stretched until they snapped. Maya Brooks said, Crunch week ended last Friday, while his shoes stayed by the door like excuses. The shower hissed at midnight, rinsing stories I had not been told. Ethan Cole said, I need clear headspace, and steam took the shape of distance. Notifications blinked face down, as if they had shame and small hearts. Maya Brooks said, Your calendar shows blanks, and he shrugged like a magic trick no one requested. He set a second alarm for 5 a.m. and woke before it cried. Ethan Cole said early site visit, and pocketed a charger that was not his style. My chest kept count like a bad accountant that never sleeps. Maya Brooks said, What changed? And the kitchen clock refused to answer. He moved his gym bag to the car and left no sweat behind. Ethan Cole said, Stop reading into noise, and the word noise rang clean. I opened the bank app and numbers lined up like witnesses. Maya Brooks said, Company dinners charge cheaper wine than this, and a receipt glared back. The merchant was a boutique bar with a piano and candles no spreadsheet could justify. Ethan Cole said, Client treat, and the word client wore perfume I did not own. A rideshare trail marked a detour far from his office, and farther from home. I matched timestamps to photos, and found nothing posted, only curated silence. Maya Brooks said secrets edit the timeline, and the quiet agreed with a nod. He texted a selfie from a conference room with no clocks, and no people. Ethan Cole said running late, and a second charge hit for dessert we never shared. My stomach learned the weight of glass. Maya Brooks said, facts first, feelings later, and I kept scrolling until the page stopped. The rain returned with theater timing, and a whispering windshield. Maya Brooks said, show me where you are, to a pin that hovered too far north. He claimed West Loop, yet the dot drifted toward Ravenswood like a secret. I parked near a wine bar where laughter leaked to the street. Ethan Cole said, signal is weird, when I called 3 times and heard music. A woman with an auburn bob waited under an awning that dripped silver. Maya Brooks said, just a coincidence, and the lie tasted thin in my mouth. Ethan stepped out with a wet grin and a paper bag heavy with evening. He cupped the woman's elbow like a habit he never practiced on me. I swallowed the shout and let the wipers take it like clergy. Maya Brooks said, record, don't react, and my hand steadied around the phone. The next day Noah asked if I had a minute, and guilt flinched. Noah, Betrayal, said, I shouldn't get involved, but his brows chose otherwise with a crease. We stood by the food trucks where truth feels cheaper and grease smells honest. Maya Brooks said, I want whatever you saw, and my voice held without shaking. Noah Patel, said Elevator 12, last night, Ethan with a woman not from our floor. He described the auburn hair and the hurried laugh that hit metal. Maya Brooks said, thank you, and air finally moved through my lungs. He added dates that matched receipts already boxed in my notes. Uninto wall, and was tiny dimes my notes. Ethan Cole said, heading home now, in a text that bent around the timeline like wire. I saved Noah's message like a lighthouse, and looked up. The clouds thinned just enough to show the sun trying. I cleared the dining table, and built a map that did not forgive. Maya Brooks said, dots, lines, truth, and my pen obeyed like a metronome. Phone logs, ride shares, and charges formed constellations I could finally read. Jasmine Reed said, you are closer than it feels, over the speaker that glowed steady. I printed a list of questions that did not tremble or beg. Ethan Cole said, we need to talk tonight, and I circled tonight in red with purpose. I outlined boundaries, consequences, and exits that did not bend. Maya Brooks said, I will not bargain with smoke, and the room steadied around the sentence. The rain quit for good, and streetlights lifted like lids from tired eyes. I slid the folder into my bag, and met my reflection without flinching. The work was ugly and clean at once. The rooftop bar felt like a stage, and the city hummed under the lights. Maya Brooks said, follow the voice, as a laugh I knew skimmed the air like a coin. A woman turned, and the auburn bob caught every neon blade. Lena Hart said, Maya, with surprise that sounded practiced. My name on her mouth bent time back to nothing gentle. Maya Brooks said, you know me. And the night narrowed to a tunnel. She stepped closer, perfume crisp and deliberate. Lena Hart said, Jasmine is my cousin, and the floor lost its screws. I tasted metal and memory, and a long hallway of birthdays. Maya Brooks said, so the orbit was always this small, and the skyline refused to blink. I opened the folder and the pages breathed like a trapped animal. Maya Brooks said, transfers to Heart Studio match your late nights, and the numbers lined up like teeth. Receipts showed jewelry I never unboxed. Ethan Cole said, I borrowed from us, in a text that shrank as I read it. Screenshots placed him as Lena's reference with my email forged into the thread. Maya Brooks said, you used my name to polish her door, and the room clicked colder. The joint fund sagged where our emergencies used to live. I imagined the fire we could no longer put out. Maya Brooks said, you built a bridge from my trust to her lobby, and I stapled the proof. The staple felt like a tiny gavel. The lobby marble held a quiet that made shoes confess. Maya Brooks said, you shifted our future to fund her start, and the syllables didn't shake. I traced the invoice header, and felt the weight of forged lines. Lena Hart said, he wanted to help, and the help sounded like a blade. Ethan Cole said, it was a loan, and loans do not sign my name at midnight. Jasmine Reed said, This crosses legal lines, and her voice locked the room. Maya Brooks said, "You risked my credit and my career," and the word career snapped. The security guard watched the elevator blink, as if it could absolve us. I heard my blood learn a new tempo. The ceiling lights hummed like warning tape. We sat on Jasmine's couch, where the cushions remembered better nights. Jasmine Reed said, "Lena and I are cousins, but we are not close," and the knot echoed. She showed photos where they were kids, and the distance already showed. Maya Brooks said, "Why didn't you tell me sooner?" And I kept my breath level. Jasmine Reed said, "I needed proof, or I'd just hand you salt," and her eyes did not leave mine. She slid over messages where Lena bragged about shortcuts. Maya Brooks said, "You chose me now," and the room softened by a notch. Trust returned like a cautious animal that might still bolt. We stacked evidence until it felt taller than fear. The lamp threw a small halo on the table. The elevator opened like a coin flip and decided on chaos. Ethan Cole stepped out with Lena at his shoulder, and the lobby inhaled. Jasmine Reed said, "We're done with shadows," and the words planted their feet. Maya Brooks said, "You used my name and our money," and my voice did not wobble. Ethan Cole said, "Let's talk upstairs," and the stairs vanished under the heat. Lena Hart said, "You weren't supposed to be here," and the truth shed its coat. Passers-by slowed, curious as gulls. Maya Brooks said, "I will not be managed," and I lifted the folder like daylight. The four of us formed a square no one wanted to live in. The doors tried to close and failed. The door latched, and the living room held its breath as the folder hit the table. Maya Brooks said, "We are going to do this without fog or furniture," and I felt my ribs steady. Ethan Cole said, "You are overreacting," but the papers glowed like runway lights. The receipts were neat and cruel, and the dates knew each other too well. Maya Brooks said, "Name the nights and name the reasons," and the room gave no shelter. Ethan Cole said, "It was complicated," and the words scraped hollow. Jasmine Reed said, "Speak the plain sentence from the couch where truth sat upright." Ethan Cole said, "I saw Lena because I wanted to," and the air dropped 5 degrees. Maya Brooks said, "Good, now we can proceed," and my hands stopped shaking. The city hissed through the windows like a witness hoping to be ignored. A clock ticked, and the future tapped its foot. I pulled the staples and laid out the timeline like train tracks you cannot step off. Maya Brooks said, "Transfers to Heart Studio, forged emails," and the ride-share trail, and each word clicked. Ethan Cole said, "I was trying to help her launch," and the verb tried to look noble. I held up the reference letter that used my name without my consent. Maya Brooks said, "You wrote me into your alibi," and the syllables landed like iron. Ethan Cole said, "It was temporary, but the dates stretched months." Jasmine Reed said, "Your access ends tonight," and she slid a list across the table. I iced our joint key on the wood and felt my pulse slow. Maya Brooks said, "You will reimburse the account," and I circled the figure. The city kept humming, but the room learned a new silence. The air thinned and heat rose from the floorboards like a warning flare. Ethan Cole said, "You weren't there for me," and the shift scraped like rust. Maya Brooks said, "I was there every unglamorous day," and the words carried groceries and rent. He paced grooves into the rug, as if motion could edit facts. Ethan Cole said, "She listened," and the word listened tried on a crown. I tasted copper, at the edge of anger, and did not move. Maya Brooks said, "I will not bleed to make you feel whole," and the room steadied. He kicked at a chair and stopped, shame flaring and fading. Jasmine Reed said, "Lower your voice," and the volume obeyed. My hands were steady enough to sign the list titled Boundaries, and I signed. The mask slipped with a sigh he could not swallow back. Ethan Cole said, "She made me feel new," and the sentence broke like cheap glass. Maya Brooks said, "You traded history for novelty," and the word traded stung. He reached for me and found air that had learned my limits. Ethan Cole said, "Don't do this," as if I held a detonator instead of a pen. I placed a small pile on the table, keys, access card, and the card I would cancel. Maya Brooks said, "Return the spare, change your passcodes and pack tonight," and the list did not tremble. He looked toward the door the way a boy checks for exits at fire drills. Jasmine Reed said, "I will witness this," and the room agreed. The night felt exact, and that precision saved me. Rock bottom came without music, just the soft click of a zipper on a duffel. Ethan Cole said, "Tell me there's a door back to us," and the hope folded itself small. Maya Brooks said, "There is only a door out," and the handle turned inside my chest. He sat on the suitcase as if weight could change the past. Ethan Cole said, "I am sorry," and the word shattered like a thin plate. I opened the window to let the room exchange its air. Maya Brooks said, "Consequences live here now," and the night nodded. Jasmine Reed said, "Text me when he leaves," and her eyes stayed steady. He lifted the bag, and the apartment felt its new size. I stood until the elevator bell closed the scene. Morning entered quieter, and the apartment felt like a place that could breathe again. Maya Brooks said, "Change the locks, change the logins, change the story," and the list held. I called the bank and the woman logged each transfer like a metronome. Maya Brooks said, "Flag every unauthorized move," and my voice did not shake. Her asked for statements, and screenshots marched like sober soldiers. Ethan Cole said, "Please keep this private," in a message that read like a wish slipping. I forwarded the facts and closed the thread without apology. Maya Brooks said, "I refuse to carry his secret," and the air moved clean. A florist texted to confirm a cancelled bouquet, and I laughed at the odd mercy. Jasmine Reed said, "You are doing the grown hard things," and the line steadied me. I wrote receipts for myself and let the room learn my name again. Across town, the launch party became a pause, and the press release went missing. Lena Hart said, "It was only help to a phone that forgot how to answer." The studio lights tasted dust, and a bouquet browned in its sleeve. A client wrote, "We will revisit later," and the later rang like never. Lena Hart said, "He promised it was simple," and the word promise dimmed. Her inbox filled with soft no's that still cut. She scrolled through photos of pieces that looked brighter yesterday. Lena Hart said, "I did not expect the cost," and the glass display held her reflection like a warning. The street moved without her, and she felt every step pass. Somewhere a door opened for someone who told the truth first. I stripped the bed and the past with it, and the laundry sang like resolve. Jasmine Reed said, "What color feels like tomorrow?" and swatches bloomed across the wall. The old rug took the elevator down to donation. Maya Brooks said, "Light linen, open shelves, and plants that refused to wilt," and the room agreed. We boxed souvenirs that told the wrong story and labeled them for exit. Jasmine Reed said, "Your taste is allowed to take up space," and I exhaled. The mirror showed a woman who returned the keys to herself. Maya Brooks said, "No more shrinking," and I taped the last flap shut. We ordered takeout and ate on the floor like pioneers of a better map. The evening folded around us like clean sheets. We met at a diner with chrome that remembered every heartbreak before ours. Noah Patel said, "You did not deserve the crossfire," and the steam from his coffee made hollows. Jasmine Reed said, "We keep you company until your quiet feels friendly," and the booth welcomed it. I described the plan for accounts, for therapy, for rest that isn't bargaining. Maya Brooks said, "I will not audition for anyone's love again," and the table hummed. Noah Patel said, "I can connect you with a good lawyer," and the napkin caught his neat handwriting. The waitress topped off the cups like a benediction. Maya Brooks said, "Thank you for standing close," and meaning filled the small space well. We signed the check like a vow to tomorrow. Dawn stitched gold lines across the counter, and the kettle answered with a soft breath. Maya Brooks said, "Today I move forward by inches," and the inches felt faithful. I sent the final emails to close the joint accounts and opened a new one with my name full size. The city yawned, and the street made room for my steps. Maya Brooks said, the story is not the wound. It is the scar that learns to shine, and the words sat warm. I texted Jasmine a sun emoji and a small heart that didn't ache. A calendar reminder chimed, and I kept it. Maya Brooks said, I am allowed to be proud, and the kettle clicked off like applause. The quiet was not empty anymore. It was mine. The lobby smelled like stone and rain, and the desk clerk pretended not to listen. Maya Brooks said one last exchange, and the words came out level as a ledger. Ethan Cole said, I brought the spare, and the metal clinked like a confession. My hands did not shake, and the folder under my arm felt light. Maya Brooks said, no speeches, and the rules steadied the room. He nodded toward the elevator like a reflex that had outlived its use. Ethan Cole said, you look different, and the difference was simply peace. I signed the receipt for the lock change and slid it across. The pen clicked shut like a door that knows its job. He tried to line up words like dominoes that could fall toward forgiveness. Ethan Cole said, I panicked and then defended the panic, and the sentence collapsed. Maya Brooks said, your panic asked me to vanish, and the lobby air cooled. He spoke of childhood fears as if they could notarize the present. Maya Brooks said, fear explains. It does not erase, and a hinge inside me set. Ethan Cole said, I wanted to be someone better, and the better never arrived. The clerk shuffled papers like rain on a tin roof. Maya Brooks said, you can still be better somewhere else, and the echo felt merciful. He blinked hard, and the apology went quiet in his mouth. The elevator chimed, and the moment asked for its line. Ethan Cole said, tell me what you need to hear, and the need was finally simple. My voice found the center of the room and did not wobble. Maya Brooks said, you didn't think I'd ever find out, did you? And the silence after it worked. He opened his mouth, and then set it down again. The rain outside applauded a truth that arrived intact. Maya Brooks said, I did find out, and I found myself, and the floor steadied. He nodded like a man counting losses he finally understood. The file folder rested against my side like a verdict carried kindly. We stood in a quiet that did more work than any argument. The building hummed with pipes, and the day's last light held on to the glass. Ethan Cole said, I remember our first winter, and the memory arrived without power. I saw us with scarves and cheap cocoa, and a future we once fed. Maya Brooks said, we were good until you chose a smaller truth, and the smaller truth shrank. Footsteps passed, and no one paused long enough to save us. Ethan Cole said, I will carry this, and the carrying could not come late enough. I breathed like someone who knew the map again. The clock over the mailboxes clicked, tidy and unconcerned. The revolving door lifted the street like a stage, and I stepped into my line. Maya Brooks said, goodbye. And the word carried no fire, and needed none. Behind me, the lobby folded him into its ordinary day. The rain had softened to a mist that made the city look new. Maya Brooks said, I will not rehearse this pain again, and the vow kept its shape. A bus sighed, and a bicyclist rang a bell like punctuation. My phone buzzed with Jasmine's heart, and I let it sit warm in my pocket. I walked toward the light that belonged to me, and it did not dim. The story ended, but I didn't.